Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mrs. Best Reviews channel. I'm obviously Mrs. Best. There better not be another Mrs. Best. Anywho, we are here this good Sunday to recap the latest episode of Love During Lockup, which was titled You're the Inmate. So apologies, I am a tad bit late. We were actually supposed to have this broadcast yesterday, but Pacific Gas and Electric, the shitty utility company here in California, the Bay Area to be specific, there was a blackout in Vallejo. Apparently, a truck carrying a mobile home took out a bunch of the electric poles, and we had no electricity for like 24 hours, but we're back. So anywho, on to the recap. For those joining us, we're going over Love During Lockup's latest episode, which was titled You're the Inmate. So we're going to go over all of the couples in order, just go over all the things that went down in the episode. So we're going to start with Andy and Brittany, and excuse me because I am looking at my notes. So Andy and Brittany. Andy is the cop. He was a cop of 13 years. He was married previously. He has 2 children from that marriage who are now adults. And his kids end up discussing and letting him know about some of their concerns about the fact that he's dating an inmate. It's kind of weird for a cop and an inmate to end up together, especially in a situation like this, where he went looking for the inmate. Makes no sense that a cop of 13 years went on a website to look for a prisoner to be in love with. Makes no sense. Anywho, so the kids expressed their concerns and said that their dad really wasn't there for them after he divorced their mom. He ended up going and basically leaving the kids, like a lot of people do, to the grandparents and things of that nature. So the kids expressed this to Brittany on a call on the previous episode. So we find out about that. We see that he's driving in the rain, going back home, and that's when Brittany calls him. Did anyone else notice on this episode? He was going like 80 miles per hour in the rain, and it was pouring. So I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, maybe because he's a cop, he has special driving skills. I don't fucking know. I thought that was weird, but Brittany calls him while he's driving back home, and basically we see Andy say, when Brittany expresses her concern about him not being there for the kids, he's like, listen, my kids turned out well. So obviously they are misremembering parts of their childhood because he says that he was there. I thought that was your kids always love you whether you were there or not, but let's keep it 100, Andy. They're not just feeling this way for no reason. So Brittany decides that she wants him to come visit her because she has her daughter who's visiting as well. That's the visit that they're supposed to meet. And if he doesn't go, then her daughter cannot see her as well. So pretty much she just wants him to come so that she can see her daughter. So he agrees to turn back around. And basically he's going to go visit. We didn't really get much from them that episode. That was pretty much it. I'm thinking in the next upcoming episode, we will see what they have going on. Thank you, Josiah. That's my spouse. Oh, so best. I call him Josiah or Jojo. I appreciate the compliment. I have on no makeup. I'm hella late, so I just whoop, 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 came here. So why would you call me out? I don't like that. He knows I'm shy, asshole. Anywho, we're going to move it along to the next couple, Letitia and Keith. Letitia and Keith are a hot mess. Letitia is the lady who has a tax business. Last night, I was watching According to Amber, another YouTube content creator. Shout out to According to Amber. She goes over recaps of the episodes as well as things that are happening with the cast off screen. And I guess it came out that Letitia has horrendous rental history with her businesses, the businesses we're seeing on the TV that she's in. She's not in that building anymore. She was evicted. Apparently, she has a history of renting out places and then never paying rent. This I'm going to say allegedly because the information, I'm going to cite my sources. Kim Pyre says the information is coming from the According to Amber channel, but I mean, evictions are public records. So, but apparently Letitia has a new spot. She also is losing her home that was on the show, but she has a $2 million loan. So I don't know. It looks like she's not the best with finances. But on to the episode with Letitia and Keith. We see that she's preparing for a visit, and she basically, before going to the visit, talks to Keith on the phone. and she lets him know that the lawyer advised her that it's not smart to have a criminal, especially one that is still technically an inmate, running her tax business, an accounting firm. I don't think anybody who deals with Social Security numbers should have a staff that's an inmate. Listen, I know people who are in jail, I get it, but I don't understand why she thinks people want to be taking orders from that man behind the phone. It just doesn't make any sense. So he gets pissed off. And basically, when she tells him this, he says that his only concern is caring for his family. That was red flag number one, for me at least. Then she mentions to him that she's interested in getting a postnuptial agreement. And he says that he don't do that. He says specifically, he don't do none of that. And that it just seemed like he was manipulating the situation. I think that his reaction to all of these things kind of proved the point of a power of attorney and proved the point of the attorney. I've mentioned postnups to my spouse like quite frequently. If he get rich or I get rich, like of course we're going to share our wealth together being married, but I want a postnup if I do the work by myself. The hell, the fuck, absolutely. I don't think anything's wrong with it unless you have ill intentions. So Keith obviously feels like there's a lot wrong with it. We do see toward the end of the episode, she does go to visit Keith. And then Keith's aunt called her and she was just like really weird and ratchet with his aunt. I thought that was weird. But Letitia is definitely an interesting character. So we're going to move on to the next couple, which is our favorite green onion, aka Renika and Asante. She's still wearing this wig, and I've prayed on it, and I don't think she's going to take off the wig. I feel like God is telling us that we have to accept the wig, edges, sideburns, and all. That's what we have to do. So Renika in her wig goes to visit her sister because in the previous episode, she put her family out for expressing their concerns bluntly about her going and moving to multiple states, moving across the country to go be with this man, Asante, who she has never met and only been with for a couple of months. So her sister, I just stand by it. She was upset with her sister for the opinion she gave, but I stand by the fact that Renika, darling, you should be mad at your hairstylist for doing what they did to you on that damn green onion looking wig. I cannot understand why you're mad at your family for expressing concern for you when you could be and should be mad at your hairstylist because the hair is a hot mess. So she goes and sees her mom afterward, and I did get a good vibe from her family. I like how they're close. They had an issue, but she's like, we're still there for each other. And her mom makes a good point to her. She's like, I'm going to miss my grandkids. The kids going to have to change schools. And her daughters are 13 and 15. So that's not the funnest age to change schools at all for anybody. So we see that her mom basically says to her, like, listen, everybody done been with somebody locked up. We got to break the cycle. And she said, you've only been talking to this boy for 13 months. Well, he's been in jail longer than that. And he been having what he needs. So don't you think there's somebody to hold him down outside of you? She doesn't quite seem to connect that, but I think her mom spit knowledge in that situation. So she's still kind of aggressive against the things that her family are saying. And now Renika has changed her tune, and we're hearing she wants to go to Atlanta because she wants a better life for herself and her kids. Not good. We see her talking to her children. She asks, you guys excited to move? And they say, no, we don't want to live with him. We don't know this man, and we have to change schools. And I know that's hard, especially for the 15-year-old. Like, you about to be done with high school. Now you got to suddenly up and leave your life. And then Renika has the audacity to say Atlanta schools are better than Kentucky schools. Listen, we may have to look at the statistics on that, but I know that Atlanta does not have the best schools. But I also know Kentucky doesn't have the best schools. So hey, either way, it's a stupid move to make, to uproot your kids just to basically go be with the man, because it's not benefiting anybody but you. Their kids' mental health could suffer, and that's just as important as physical health. So her kids are expecting these things, and we see her friend Ray warn her about Asante. And I like her friend Ray. This is a friend of Renika's who lives in Atlanta. I like Ray. She seems real. She seems fun. I love friends like that. That's the friend I am. We can have a good time, but I'm going to keep it 100 with you. And that's just how it goes. Either you can deal with it or you cannot. So Ray warns Renika about Asante, and then she does what I do. Ray is a bone collector, the Nancy Drew of her friend group. That is me. I'm telling you, people know to call me. I'll find out anything about the niggas. We gonna run a background check, figure out his friends, exes, family, if he's a mama's boy. All these things matter. So Ray goes and bone collects and looks into Asante's IG. Because remember, this Nimrod has an iPhone, and Renika's dumbass decided to mention that on the show so she can just call him when he in jail. And what's he doing? He's sitting in his cell, so he answers. I mean, can you imagine calling your dude if he had a phone smuggled in jail and he does not answer your call? It's like, now why? What could you possibly be doing? You don't go anywhere. But she looks into Asante's IG and quickly finds out that there are women trying to contact him, women that he's talking to, leaving heart emojis. A girl left her phone number. I'm like, sis, I'm hoping it was one of those little Google phone numbers or something, because I could never leave my phone number on the internet. I'd be scared because people be calling. I have a girl that calls me every week, every single week, actually. So it's like people be really fucked up in the head. You got to be careful with phone numbers. But that is what we get from Renika and Asante this episode. We do know that they're not together because Renika has foolishly done interviews too early, basically giving spoilers, letting us know, like, hey, I'm not with him anymore. I'm like, well, no one's surprised. Maybe you should be publicly apologizing to your family and loved ones and your daughters. Anywho, moving on to the next couple. This was Jade and Chris. Jade is a social media influencer. Chris is an inmate whose family is Native American, has a casino. So he brings in quite a good amount, a substantial income he has while in jail. So we think. So when we see them in this episode, it starts with Jade's sister talking to Chris because they're preparing to go and visit him. And I believe it's South Dakota. Now, when they're going and preparing for this visit, it just seemed like Chris was against working things out because the sister was like, I know we left off on bad terms, so on and so forth. Let's just try to do this with good energy, and Chris is like, well, I don't know. He just seems against working it out. So he says that Jade's sister needs to keep her attitude in check. And Jade appears to be worried for her sister's behavior. And honestly, I would too, because it could have went well. He could have had his opinions about her. But listen, gentlemen, do not tell a woman that don't belong to you to keep her attitude in check. Even if she belongs to you, I would be careful with telling a woman to keep our attitude in check. We don't like when niggas tell us to keep our attitudes in check. It's like, nah. So we see him say that, and she's worried about her sister's behavior. So Chris's mom and family, we find out in this episode, are actually not so fond of Jade. So he's Native American, and there's going to be, I guess, an event or something, a special type of visit, and she wants to meet with the family before going to visit. So we find out that Jade gave Chris's mother a Christmas gift, and she sent it back because she did not like the gift. I said, oh, damn, that's cold. She said, send the damn gift back. She said, I don't want it. I'm not even going to pretend. So it's interesting. Jade's sister says she's the chihuahua of the family, which means she's aggressive. She'll defend them. She'll do everything that she can. And when she meets with the family, they actually do ask about his family to try and kind of get more insight into why certain people aren't coming, why they're not willing to get to know them, which is a common thing, oddly, on Love After Lockup as a series. There's always the inmates' families sometimes that be acting a fool. And it's like, how you gonna question somebody when the somebody that your child is interested in is at the very least cognizant enough to know how to remain free, not shackled in the custody of the state? So I can't understand why the inmates' families be tripping. But in this case, it does make sense. So we see, I believe it's Chris's niece, and I believe I can't remember the other family member. She's a sister or another niece, but they basically speak about how Chris is an only child and he's put his mom through a lot with his shenanigans, with crime, drugs, things of that nature. And we find out that his family feels as though Jade's social media personality is a bad look and shines negatively on their tribe, which is understanding. They follow different beliefs, values, morals, set of teachings, all of those things. So Jade, she seems understanding to it, but then at the same time, I don't think she's fully understanding to it. You're posting on social media about shit that other dudes are sending you and things that you're buying with money that your guy in prison is sending you. We also find out that Chris is not making a huge monthly income. It's just that the money's been able to pile up because he is in prison. So it's a very interesting situation. Basically, the family seems to think that Jade is with Chris for his money. And aside from that, what she does on social media is a problem. And I know that Native American people probably are not entirely against social media. It sounds like the fact that she's so focused on materialism and doing things that are just kind of odd. I guess I kind of get where they're coming from. I'm careful about what I do, even being in front of the camera, because I don't want my husband's family or like my grandmother or uncles or even my dad, who I have on Instagram. I don't want them to like see something that is disrespectful. So I don't know. I know in a lot of minority culture, respect is a big thing to elders. And in some cultures, it is not. So maybe that is the case with Jade and Chris, but it doesn't seem like anything they can't work toward. I think only time will tell. You can be with him for all these years while he's in jail, but it doesn't count until he gets out and people can actually see and, take things seriously. So the last and final couple we're going to go over is Savannah and Jake. Hot mess express, y'all. Hot mess express. Okay. First of all, I've never met a woman so freaking obsessed with getting married. And I'm married. Shit. But I don't really like weddings. I don't get the whole white dress thing. I think if we're going to party and get fucked up afterwards at the reception, why would we be in white? Dangerous. Anywho, so Savannah explains Jake's crimes, which are actually a little bit more egregious than we would have expected. We just hear like the general explanations of the crime. Like, oh, this is, robbery. He got charged with manslaughter. The only time they really like go into deep detail of their crimes, I noticed, is like, who is it? Sean and his new lady. I can't remember Sarah. Sean and Sarah. She was in jail. She spent time for manslaughter, but it was because she overdosed or something like that. So when it's crimes like that, they'll usually explain it. But we get Jake's crime. So basically, Jake had to be shackled at his trial because he was acting such a fool in the courthouse. They had to shackle him to the chair, his chair down to the floor, so on and so forth, which is wild. That's insane. Usually people know how to act right in court, usually, but I know there's a good handful that don't. So we find out that what happened is Jake robbed some drug dealers' house in the neighborhood. They did have guns when they do this, and they did threaten to kill people. So because of that, that's why Jake got so much time. He was 19 years old when he committed this crime. So people are saying this is too harsh of a punishment. So Savannah's fighting for his commutation by the governor, which we find out has already been denied once. He's gone before a parole board. Paroles have recommended him for commutation. I'm wondering why the parole board has recommended him for commutation and not parole. Why can't he parole? That's what I don't understand. So I'll be watching pages like According to Amber to figure out and see if someone reports on why Jake is not getting parole, because I think that's odd. The whole parole board has seen he's gotten his associate's degree in jail. He's done a lot of good things. He's got the side of, correction officials. It seems like everyone's down for it with the governor, but I'm like, does the governor necessary? And I believe they're in Iowa, in the state of Iowa, for someone to be released on parole. I have no idea how that shit works. I'm not an attorney, y'all. I'm a psych major. I can tell you why you're sad, but I can't help you there. Anywho, so The attorney, Savannah, actually goes and speaks with an attorney because she wants to figure out what she can do, if she can do more on the things that can help. And the attorney lets her know that Jake may not be being completely honest about his case and that there may be things that he's not telling her. He also brings up something that I've been thinking about his family. And it's like, there's probably something his family knows as well and that they're not telling you. So it's all connecting. So she brings up marriage to the lawyer, Savannah, not the attorney. Savannah brings up marriage. She says, if me and Jake were to get married, would that help his case? He's like, yes, it could help, but it wouldn't guarantee it. So Savannah, I saw it in her eyes. Of course, that's all she heard. Oh, he won't marry me because of his mom, but maybe he will if it gets him out. And she calls it, when Jake calls her, that's the first thing she says. And he is not really happy to hear about the marriage thing. And he says what I think the whole world was thinking. You're trying to use my case as a way to manipulate me into marrying you when I'm not ready, which to me is like shady. Like, that's shady. She just seems a little yoo-hoo, like the lights are on, but no one is home. That's Savannah to me. It was just a very, very strange situation. So she basically comes to the conclusion that there's some sort of a mystery with the family and Jake, and then she wants to get to the bottom of it. She even tries to ask Jake further, and to calm her down, he's like, you could talk to my friend, and gives her his friend's information. But we know that your friends are going to side with you, and they're going to tell your girl what you want them, what, Jake wants her to hear. So I'm hoping that this girl is a little bit more smart than she lets on. I am hoping. But that is all I have for you guys with the recap and my opinions. We'll be doing this every week. It's only going to be about 20 to 30 minutes. There's not much to discuss with these episodes, but I just wanted to share my opinions. We will be recapping Love and Hip Hop Miami, adding that to the roster on Wednesdays after our weekly Love and Hip Hop Atlanta recap. I will also be guest hosting on Watch Your Mouth Reviews YouTube channel, on the weekly Real Housewives of Atlanta recap and the weekly Bell Collective recap. We will be having a song review tonight as well for the independent music artists as well as independent producers. We encourage you to submit music. It is always free. If you don't want to wait and you see there's a long line when you join the show for song submissions, you can do a $3 line skip because we are B3ST, or you can get a $5 instant play. I appreciate everybody for watching. We will be back next week on Saturday to recap the next episode, Spies and Lies. Thug life and happy Sunday.